So earlier this week, the National Association of Realtors released numbers showing a 7.7% drop year over year in home sales. And it was also the 10th straight month of declines in home sales. And really, this is no coincidence because, surprise, surprise, it was exactly 10 months ago when the Fed started aggressively raising interest rates. To put it into perspective, in January of this year, they were at 3.1%, and by May, it was already at 5.5%, which essentially reduced the buyer's purchasing power by about 25%. And obviously, this immediately had impacts on the market. The average days on market is up dramatically. Also, we're seeing price reductions across the board, and I don't think that this is going to change much in 2023. It might not accelerate at such a rapid pace, but I do think you could probably expect to see interest rates continue to climb up in 2023. So whereas 2022 was the year of the interest rates, I personally believe 2023 is going to be the year of inventory. I basically have been saying for 2 years now, since the COVID craze began, essentially, that it was going to take one of the two items to start to get prices to push downward. And those two items were always interest rates and or inventory. Being that interest rates went first in a, quote unquote, manipulated way to curve the market downwards, I think there's obviously no other option but for inventory to be the next part of the dam that breaks, so to speak. My prediction with the inventory is that most of it is going to come from people that upsized during COVID. You had a lot of people, like here in Florida, a lot of people moved out of condos into single family homes. You had people buying 4 or 5 bedroom homes for 2 or 3 people, maybe a husband and a wife and a kid. And they needed the office, they needed the gym, but now that COVID is over, for the most part, offices are back open, schools are back open, gyms are back open. I think you're going to see people realizing that they do have a lot of equity in their homes, even though their interest rate is really low. With inflation and costs of living going up in general, I think you're going to see some people cashing out on that equity. So yeah, I think that you could see a lot of inventory come from that. And then of course, all the people that bought this year at considerably higher interest rates, if for any reason they lose a job, have a big medical bill come up, have an accident, who knows what could happen, you could see a lot of pressure to need capital quick, and they may have to sell their home probably at a loss, unfortunately. So with that being said, I do think that Florida, especially in 2023, will continue to be an anomaly. I think it will stay relatively strong, especially stronger than other parts of the country. The big question is, we depend a lot on where are these people coming from? The people purchasing homes here are coming a lot from the Northeast and other parts of the country, not other parts of the state where homes are also selling relatively strong and for close to asking price. So you have to really ask yourself, how long is it going to last where the buyer steps in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Delaware, all these other places, to where those buyers can essentially trade off their home there for the ones down here. So that will be a big question, is how strong does the buyer pool stay for Florida? But from what we've seen, it has not really slowed down yet, so I don't really see it slowing down personally. I do think that, like pretty much always, cash investors will do very well, but I think this is a specific time where cash investors are going to once again really have the upper hand. You're going to be competing in an environment where prices are going down, inventory is going up, and naturally they're going to have less competition from finance offers. About a year ago, it used to be, and it still always is, obviously cash is king. That's something you always hear in the business. But a year ago, sellers didn't even care whether the offer was cash or financing, because pretty much everything was going through, everything was appraising. Finance deals were relatively very smooth for the most part. But that's going to get very difficult again. Appraisers and appraisals are going to start to come in, a little bit more gun shy, so to speak. So that is something to keep in mind. As a cash investor, you're really going to have the upper hand going into 2023 and 2024. With that being said, I think it's going to be a good time to invest as a cash investor because I think rents are going to continue to stay very strong. Obviously, as sales go down, rents just go up. So it's kind of has a direct inverse correlation there, which only really helps the investor. It does unfortunately hurt all the renters out there who do want to buy but feel like they can't afford it because interest rates have gone up so much, or whatever the case is. But I do think all in all, it's going to be a year of opportunity. I think there are going to be opportunities that come up in neighborhoods that people thought that they got priced out of, where they're going to say, hey, you know what, did you see that new listing come up? It's actually coming back to the price we were thinking about buying when we passed up on it. So I think people are going to have real decisions to make, especially if, the qualified buyers, the people who have the money for the down payment and still have a good high income. They're going to get opportunities again, which will be encouraging to say the least. Going into 2024, I hate to be doom and gloom here, but I think it's going to continue to kind of just stay flat or decline, in some areas because we will be going into an election year. I know every election, it seems like they say this is the biggest election ever. So there's going to be all the hype behind that, and naturally investors do want to see where the dust settles with what administration will be in office and all of that. So there is that to consider for 2024. But that's also very unpredictable because sometimes going into election years, current administrations will start to do weird things to win votes, let's say. So maybe actually the housing market will tick up a little bit in 2024, but my prediction would be flat or continuing kind of downwards in 2024, if I have to be honest. But I do think, again, like I said, there's going to be good opportunities. And the most crucial thing, in my opinion, next year or this upcoming year, 2023 and early 2024, is to really pay attention to the communities and the neighborhoods and the parts of town that do not decrease as much as others, because those are going to be the places you want to focus when you're ready to pull the trigger and the time is right. Those are going to be the places that will appreciate the most. They're going to be the places that bounce back the quickest, and you're going to kick yourself if you're not in on the action when it's happening.